Hello my friends, today we are gonna be building this trivia quiz application using React. It's gonna be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but the basic one. I will enter my username and click to start button. When I click one of these answers, it's gonna wait 3 seconds and check the answer. If I run out this time here or choose a wrong answer, I'm gonna lose the game. Awesome. I think it's a fun and nice project to improve your skills. If you want to see more projects like this, you can subscribe to the channel. I hope you will enjoy. If you are ready, let's get started. Okay, I created an empty folder here. I will open my terminal and here I will say npx create React app. And it's gonna install inside this folder, so I will say dot and enter. During installation, I'm gonna show you our source folder here. There will be 3 sound effects here. When we start playing, it's gonna play correct answer, and when we click wrong answer. And this is gonna be our background image. And we are gonna be using Roboto font family. If you go to fonts.google.com, you can find this font family. And after choosing this styles, you can copy here. And we are gonna paste this inside our HTML file. Okay, so it's ready. I can clean my folder. Here I will delete everything. It's gonna be only app.js and index.js. I will delete. And inside public also. We don't need any logo or these additional files. Okay, so inside index, I can delete them. These logos. And here, let's write here trivia React app. And I will delete here. Okay. Right now I can paste this font family link here after this tag. And I'm gonna create a style here. Style. And I will choose whole document and font family. Actually, let's copy and paste here. Okay. So I'm going to app.js here. And I can delete them, and inside this div, I will write here quiz app. Let's start our app. I will say yarn start. Okay, there's an error here. That's because we didn't clean our index.js. Let's delete this CSS. And here. Okay, let's try again. As you can see, everything works perfectly. But I don't want any space here. To prevent this, I will go to index.html and here I will say margin 0. Okay, so I can close this. And here, we don't need this. I can close this public folder. And inside source folder, I'm gonna create another folder here. I will say assets. And inside, I'm gonna move these files. Okay. So right now, let's decide what we are gonna do. Firstly, I'm gonna split this page. Let's say from here, this side will be our money pyramid, and here is gonna be our main container. So let's do this. Firstly, I will do this lowercase, and here I will say main. So I can't use this shortcut, that because it's not JSX file. Let's change it. I will restart again. Okay, I will close alt one, and here right now I can use. I'm gonna enter, and as you can see, it created this div. Okay, so it's gonna be our main container, and here I will say pyramid here. Let's write here something. So how I'm gonna split this? I will create here CSS file. Let's say app.css. I should define this here. I will say import source folder. I will say app.css. So I can use these class names. I will say .app. I will say height 100 VH because it's gonna be full screen app. And here I will say display flex. If I say that, our containers will be in the same row. It will be horizontal. So I will say background color. It's gonna be custom color here. I will say 0202 30. Okay. So everything inside this application will be white text color. So I will say color white. Let's see. Okay. So for main container and for pyramid, let's give some size. I will say width 75%, and for pyramid, if I say width 25%, let's see right now. As you can see, this main container is 3 units, and this money container pyramid is 1 unit. Okay, right now I can give my background image. I will say background and URL. And inside I can indicate my image URL. So I will say assets and bg.jpg. Let's see. Okay. So I wanna center this background image. I will say center, something like that. But this image is really sharp. I wanna give some linear gradient. So I will come here and say linear gradient is gonna be from top to bottom. So I will indicate my colors here. Firstly, it's gonna be 0, 0, 0, and 0. And second color will be our main color here. I will copy and paste. And here, comma. There's a typo here. It's gonna be RGBA. Okay, let's try. Okay, it's much better. So let's take care of this money pyramid. I will center everything inside this pyramid. So I will go to pyramid container, and here I will say display flex. To center everything, I will say align item center and justify content center. Something like that. So inside this pyramid, I'm gonna create a list. It's gonna be $100, $200, and it's gonna go to $1 million. Okay. Here I will say UL and class name. I will say money list, and inside list item, and let's say $200 here actually. Of course, class name. I will say money list item. Let's duplicate this. I will say 4, 3, 2, and 1. But I don't want these dots. What was our list name? Money list. Let's go to CSS file, and here I will quit this. I will say list style. It's gonna be none. Okay. I will make this larger with 100%. Maybe reduce this padding 20. Okay. So for the list item, I will say money list item, and let's go to app.js, and here it's not gonna be only this money text, it's gonna be also our question number. So instead of writing like that, I will create 2 spans here. First one will be, let's say 4, and class name money list item number, And one more is gonna be menu list item amount. And it's gonna be $400. So I will delete them. Okay, so I will copy this, and here I will say font size 18 pixels, and font weight will be really light, let's say 100, something like that. And for the amount, font size a little bit bigger, 20 pixels, and font weight, let's say 300. Okay, so as you can see, they are not centered. This number stands a little bit down, so I will correct them. I will say display flags and align item center. Okay, it's better. So I'm gonna give active class for this list item. So I will say money list item, and if it's active, I will say background color, it's gonna be teal. Let's try. First one will be active. Okay, I can give some padding. I will say padding 5 pixels and maybe border radius 5 pixels. So I can separate them. For this number, I will say width 30%. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is creating here a data and fetching all items inside this data instead of writing this again and again. So I will delete them. And here I will say const money pyramid. And it's gonna be an array, and inside it's gonna include an ID, let's say 1, and amount will be $100. Like that. I will duplicate them. There will be 15 questions and 15 amount. I will do this quickly. Okay. So I can use this array here. Before this list item, I will say money pyramid and map. And inside for each item, I'm gonna return this list item. And instead of this 4, I will say am.id, one of these IDs. And instead of this number, I will say am.amount. So let's see. As you can see, they are here. But it shouldn't be active. I will delete this. And I want to reverse this array because it's going to be from 100 to a million. So I will say dot reverse. It's really easy array method. If I do that, it's gonna be like that. Awesome. So how I'm gonna decide which one is active? So I will go to app.js, and here I'm gonna create a useState hook. I will say const question number and set question number and use state hook here. And initial state will be 1. That because when we start our application, we are gonna see first question here is gonna start from 1. If I match this question number with this ID, I can make this active. If I go to second question, it's gonna be active and it's gonna be normal class. Let's do that. I will copy this and delete, and here I'm gonna create a condition. I will say if question number equals our am.id, it's gonna be money list item and active. If it's not equal, it's gonna be just money list item. I will save, and here, as you can see, it's still. If I change this question number, let's say 5, it's here. Perfect. So we finished this pyramid. Let's take care of this main container. I will delete this, and inside, what I'm gonna do? I will split this main container First one will be top container, and I'm gonna add here a timer. It's gonna count down, and here it will be our question and answer and so on. Let's do that. I will say top and bottom, and inside top I will add here another container. It's gonna be timer, and let's say 34 now. We are gonna change this. And inside bottom, let's write here questions, actually question and answers. Let's come inside this CSS, and here I will say our main folder, actually here I will say here display flags. If I do that, it's gonna be horizontal, top and bottom. I don't wanna do that, so I will say flags direction will be column. So timer and this trivia question will be in the same column, not in the same row. So what I'm gonna do here, let's create top container here and bottom. I will say height 50%. I will do the same thing for bottom. Okay, 1 unit for this timer and 1 unit for this question. So I'm gonna take care of this timer. I'll say timer here, and width will be 70, height will be 70. I wanna make this circle, so I will say border radius 50%, and I'm gonna give some border. 5 pixels, solid and white. Oops, solid. As you can see, 30 is here at the beginning. How I'm gonna center this? I will say it's really easy, display flags, align item center, and justify content center. Okay, I can increase this font size. I will say font size 30 pixels, and font weight, let's say 700. So how I'm gonna move this here? I will make this position absolute. As I said before, if you are using position absolute, the parent should be position relative. Otherwise, it's gonna move according to this whole screen. If you say, for example, bottom 0 is gonna be move here, but we don't wanna do this. We just wanna move this inside this container. So that's why we write here position relative. Okay. So let's position this. I will say bottom 10 pixels, like that. And left, let's say 100, maybe less. Okay, so let's create here a component. I will open my menu, and here in the source I will say components, and inside I will say trivia or quiz, whatever you say, .jsx. Let's create a function rfc. And here we don't need this. If you wanna use this shortcut, by the way, you can use this extension. It's really useful. So let's close this, and here I will say class name trivia. Let's create question, and it's gonna be answers container. And inside this container, every individual answer. Let's write here, what's the best YouTube channel? First one will be Lama Dev, of course. And others, there is no others. You have only one answer here. Okay, let's move this inside app.js. I will say, I will delete this first, and I will call my trivia component here. Okay, let's see. Perfect. Let's play around with this trivia. I will go to CSS file. I'm not gonna create another CSS file. We are not gonna use that many CSS, so here, after bottom, I will say trivia. As you remember, it's our main container here. So I will say height 100%, and I will make this display flex again, and flex direction will be column again, because question and answers will be in the same column. So let's center them, align item center, and justify content. If I say space between, it's gonna be a little bit strange. I wanna give some margin here and here, so I will say space around. Okay, it's better. Okay, I will arrange this question. I will say question, and width will be, let's say 80%. It's not gonna be full screen. I will say background color. For temporary, I will say black. We will change this later. And I will give some border here, 2 pixels, solid and white. I can center this text. I will say text align is gonna be center. Okay. And I can give some padding and border radius maybe 10 pixels. Okay, it's much better. I will increase this font size. I will say 20 pixels. Actually, this black is good, but I wanna make this a little bit fancier. So I will delete this and this color actually. And let's write here linear gradient. First one will be a little bit lighter, like some purple, and here black. Okay, it's better I think. So let's take care of these answers. As you remember, we have answers container and each answers. So firstly, for this container, answers, I will say width 100%. If I say here display flex, they all are gonna be in the same row. So let's center them first. I will say justify content center. Right now I'm gonna give a custom width for each answer. Let's do them first. I will say answer. And here I will say width 40%. Like that. And padding, text align center. And again I can give linear gradient. I will copy this and paste here in the answer. But I'm gonna change these colors. It's gonna be different. I will say 0E, 01, 24. And for here, 220, 74D. Like that. Let's give border. I will say border 1 pixel solid and white. Of course, I need border radius. Let's say 15. Font size 20 pixels. And font weight will be 300. Let's see. So I want to separate these answers. 2 of them will be on the top and 2 of them will be on the bottom. So to do that, I will go to answers. And here I will say flex wrap, and it's gonna be wrap. Okay, so let's give some margin. I'm not gonna give for left. I will say margin, and left will be 0, top, right, and bottom. Okay, so maybe cursor pointer. Perfect. So I'm gonna give different classes for these answers. For example, when I hover, I'm gonna change background color. When I click this, it's gonna be active. It's gonna be again different background color. And after checking correct answer, I will give some animation. It's gonna blink 3 times, and if it's correct, it's gonna be green. If it's wrong, it's gonna be red. So let's do that. I will write here answer, and for hover first, and background here, it was linear gradient. This time it's gonna be medium blue, like that. So when I click this, it's gonna be the same. So I will add here active class when I hover, and if it's active, Okay, so let's try. This one will be active. As you can see, it's blue. So let's delete this. I will write here correct. And let's give this animation for answer and correct. I will write here animation, and here animation name correct. And it's gonna take 3 seconds, and it's not gonna be linear speed, it's gonna be ease, and after animation it's gonna stay at the last position, so I will say forwards. I'm not gonna deep dive into these animations. If you want to know more about these animations, you can check in the description below. You can find there an awesome course, and you can learn everything about these animations and transitions. Okay, so I will create here my keyframes. For each movement, I'm gonna create different background colors. So I will write here correct, my animation name. And for the beginning, I will say background color will be medium blue. And when it comes to 20%, let's actually copy this linear gradient and paste here. So let's check first. I will refresh. As you can see, so I can give different keyframes. So let's say 22%. It's gonna blink again. And here for 40%. And after 2%, it's gonna be blue again. So I will say 42%. So let's try first. I will refresh. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, perfect. I will add one more. And after 62, it's not gonna be blue anymore. It's gonna be green because it's correct. So I will write here 62%, and it's gonna be background green. So it's gonna start being green after 62% until 100%. So let's see. I will refresh. 1, 2, 3, and green. And it stays like that. So I will do the same thing for wrong answer. I will copy here and this animation. I will change these names. It's gonna be wrong. And this time it's not gonna be green. It's gonna be, what was the name? Crimson? Maybe crimson? Okay. Let's change this. It's gonna be wrong. Awesome. So I can delete them. So how I'm gonna decide these questions? Firstly, I'm gonna go to app.js. You can create here another file, JS file, let's say data.js. But I don't wanna do like that because it's just a small application. Instead of this, I will write here const data, and I will paste here my data. Okay, we have 3 questions here. Each one has ID, question, and answers array, and this array includes 4 answers. As you can see, text and correct, 3 of them are false, 1 of them is true, something like that. So I can use this data. But before that, I'm gonna create another use state here. It's gonna be timeout. Let's make this capital, and initial state will be false. So basically, it's gonna track our timer here. When it comes to 0, it's gonna change this timeout to true. So when it's true, we are gonna lose the game. We will remove this question here, and we are gonna write you lost or you just earned $100, $500, something like that. So additionally, I can use this for wrong answer. When I click wrong answer, again, it's gonna make this timeout true, and we are gonna lose the game. Okay, so let's go to trivia component here. And inside, firstly, I'm gonna pass my data. And then I'm gonna pass setTimeout. setTimeout. So what can I pass more here? Let's check. If I click correct answer, it should change the question number. we should go to next question and we should increase here. So what I should do, pass these set question numbers also. So one more thing. Okay, we will take all data here. It's gonna use 3 questions, but how it's gonna decide which question we are in? So we should pass question number also. Okay. Let's use them. Data, setTimeout. I will take this props. Data, setTimeout. And what was others? Question number and set question number. Okay, so let's create here our current question. I will say const question and set question. It's gonna be use state and initial state will be null. So how I'm gonna fetch my first question? I will say useEffect. Let's give some space here and I should import this useEffect. Okay, so whenever I call this trivia component, I'm gonna take this data and I'm gonna set my first question. So I will say set question and it's gonna be data, and which element it's gonna be? We are gonna use this question number. But as you know, here our question number is 1, but first element of the array is 0. So what should I do? I should write here -1. So it's gonna be 1 - 1, 0, and it's gonna call first element of this data array. Okay, I should write here my dependencies. It's gonna be data and question number. So whenever this data and question number changes, it's gonna fire this useEffect again. If we go to question number 2, for example, it's gonna be fired again and it's gonna set question number 2. Okay. So let's use this question. I will copy this and inside here, I don't want to change this question, but we should. I will write here question dot, what was the name? Let's check. Here question, answers, and inside answers, text and correct. So question dot question, and instead of writing them, I will delete them. And here I can use my map. I will say question dot answers and map, and for each answer I'm gonna call this div and here text. Okay, if I try it right now, it's not gonna work. That's because our question is null, as you know here, the initial state. So I should check it first. I will put here a question mark. It's gonna check whether there is a question or not, and then it's gonna map these answers. Still null. Okay, I forgot here. Perfect. This is our first question. So how I'm gonna select one of these answers? Let's create here another use state. It's gonna be selected question, answer, initial state will be null again, and here when I click this answer, I should change it. So I will write here on click, and when I click this, I'm gonna call my function, let's say handle click. I will copy this, and here let's create this function, const handle click and arrow function. Of course we should take here this answer, so I will create here function first and pass this answer. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this answer? Firstly, I'm gonna update my selected answer. It's gonna be this A, and later it should update this answer class name, it will be active first. So how I'm gonna do that? I will come here and write a condition here. I will say if the selected answer equals this A, we are gonna change this class name. Let's write here class name. We are gonna create this later, don't worry. And if it's not, it's gonna be just ordinary answer. So let's create this, another use state, and here I will make this capital, and in the initial state it's gonna be answer because we didn't change anything right now. And here I will say set class name, it's gonna be answer and active. Okay, let's try. I'm clicking. Okay, something is wrong. Set class name. I write here set selected. It should be just selected answer. As you can see, I will refresh again. I will click this one. As you can see, right now it's active. So I wanna wait like that for, let's say, 3 seconds. And after that, I'm gonna check whether this answer is correct or not. So to do that, I will write here setTimeout. And here, let's say 3 seconds. So what this function does, it basically delays our function. If I write here, for example, console log something, it's gonna run these functions first, and it's gonna look into this timeout, and it will say, okay, I will wait 3 seconds, and after that, I'm gonna run this function. So what can I write here? I can check my correct answer, and then I can set my class name again. Let's write here set class name, and I'm gonna check my answer. As you remember here, I can check this with correct property here. I will say a.correct. So if it's correct, I'm gonna change this with answer correct. I will copy this. If it's not correct, I will say answer dot wrong. So let's try. I will refresh. I'm clicking. Okay, nothing has changed. Set timeout. We have set timeout here. So by mistake, I just update this timeout. It should be lowercase. Let's try again. I'm clicking. It's selected. After 3 seconds, as you can see, it checks and it's correct. I will refresh again. I will click this one. After 3 seconds, it checks and it's red. Awesome. So by the way, I can change the set timeout name because it can be confusing. What can I say here? Let's say stop. And here I will say set stop. And I will take this probe as set stop. Okay. So what can I do more? When I click this, it's gonna check after 3 seconds. So after this animation, I should change this question and update my question number. So if it's false, I should update this set stop and it should be true. So how I'm gonna do that? If I update these states here, it's gonna be something weird, that because we have an animation here. As you can see, it takes 3 seconds. If I update them, we can't see these animations. It's gonna just update our new question. We can't see this animation. So to prevent this, I should write here another timeout. So if we are using this multiple time, Actually, I can write here a function. I will say const, let's say delay, an arrow function here. So what's gonna take as params? First one will be duration. This 3 seconds, for example. And second one will be this function, inside function. I can say callback. And I'm gonna write here setTimeout. And inside this callback function, and here my duration. So it's exactly the same thing. So I can use this function. I will write here delay. It's gonna be 3 seconds. And here my function. I will copy this and here arrow function and paste. Okay, so I don't need this anymore. It's gonna be exactly the same thing. So right now I'm gonna create another delay function here. Okay, let's decide. After 3 seconds, it's gonna run our animations, and our animation takes 3 seconds. So I should write here 6 seconds. So I will delete this, and I'm gonna check my answer. If answer and correct, I will say set question number. I can use here a function, let's say previous one, and here previous plus 1. Okay, so if it's not correct, I will say else. I will stop the game, set stop. It's gonna be true. But if I do that, it will be still selected answer. So I should make this null again, set selected answer, and it's gonna be null again. Okay, let's try. I'm clicking. After 3 seconds, it's checking, and it's correct, and it's going to next question. Awesome. But if I choose wrong answer, nothing is gonna happen because we didn't write here anything, any condition. So after this main, I'm gonna create my condition. I will say if stop. I'm gonna write here, let's say h1 tag, and inside I will say you earned and some money amount here. So how I'm gonna decide this? Let's create here another use state. I will say earned, and in the initial state it's gonna be 0, but I can't write here 0 because in our parameter we have text here. Let's do the same thing. I will write here string, and it's gonna be $0. Right now I can use this. I will come here and indicate my earned. So if it's not stopped, I can call, and here I will paste. But as you can see, I can't use them like this. If you are using multiple divs and components, you should write here fragments. Okay, let's try again. I will refresh. I will choose wrong one. As you can see, it's here. Perfect. Let's center this text. I will give class name. Class name, it's gonna be and text. I will copy this and my CSS file. I will say position relative. And if I say top 0, bottom 0, left and right 0, and margin auto, it's gonna automatically center this text. Auto. Let's try. As you can see, it's centered. Awesome. So how I'm gonna change this amount? I should write here another useEffect. So whenever we change this question number, I'm gonna change this earned amount also. I will say, let's write here under this parameter, I will say useEffect. whenever this question number changes, I'm gonna update my earning. There's a condition here. If we select wrong answer in the first question, we should earn 0. If we are, let's say, 7th question and we did wrong, earned money should be 2000, because this one is not correct. So I should write here my condition. I will say question number. If this number is more than 1, I will say set earned, and I'm gonna try to find one of these amounts. So how I'm gonna do this? I will say money permit, and I will write here find method, and for each money I will choose previous money. As I said before, if we are in this 7th question, it should be 2000. So to do that, I will say m.id should be question number -1. Of course, I should choose amount. I will write here .amount. Okay, but there's a problem here. We have missing dependency. If I write here money pyramid, and let's try, I will refresh. I'm choosing font here, which is wrong answer. It's gonna check, and it's 0, as you can see. So I will choose watches. It's gonna be correct, and we will go to another question. If I choose here wrong one, we are in the 200, as you can see, but it writes here 100. Perfect. By the way, you can use here useMemo hook also, because this array never changes, so it's not an actual dependency here. I don't want to explain everything about this useMemo, but if you don't write here, it can be some performance issue. Let's write them actually, and it's gonna be again arrow function, and here I should indicate my dependency. There is no dependency because it's only array, and I can move this array inside this useMemo. I will copy this and paste here. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing. What this useMemo exactly does, it looks into this money pyramid, and it's gonna memorize everything inside this pyramid, and we have a dependency here. If there's a dependency, whenever it changes, it's gonna update this variable again, but we don't have any because it never changes. It can be confusing right now if you don't know useMemo, but in the future I'm gonna explain everything about useMemo, use callback, everything related React performance issues. Okay, so what can we do else here? Oh, there's an error here with this memo, that because it's not a function, it's just variable, I should delete them. And here comma. Okay, perfect. So let's take care of this timer. I'm gonna create another component here. It's gonna be timer.jsx. And inside I'm gonna create my function rfc. I will delete this, and here it's gonna be my initial state. Const, let's say timer, set timer. In the initial state it's gonna be use state 30 seconds, and every time we refresh this timer, it's gonna count down these seconds. So I should write here interval. So let's say useEffect const interval, and I'm gonna set this interval, and here I'm gonna write my duration 1 second. So what this interval does, it basically calls everything inside this interval every 1 second. So what I'm gonna do here, I will say set timer, and I'm gonna update this timer. I will say previous, and previous -1. So every 1 second it's gonna decrease this number. It's gonna be 29, 28, 27, something like that. So I can turn this timer and use inside my application. So it's not gonna be 30 anymore. I will call my component timer. Okay, let's see. As you can see, so I should add here some conditions. If I give wrong answer, I'm gonna stop again this timer. So I should indicate here my stop, set stop. And one more thing, I'm gonna pass my question number, because whenever I change this question number, it should be 30 seconds again. I will say question number. Okay, so let's take them. And this one I will save here. Okay, I'm gonna check my time. If it's 0, I'm gonna stop the game. I will make this true. Let's do this. I will say if timer equals 0, it's gonna return set stop. It's gonna be true. Let's write here another useEffect. We forgot here our dependency, by the way. Let's write, and we will change it later. And here our dependency will be question number. I will write here set timer again 30 seconds. So what I'm gonna write here is gonna be set stop first and timer. Let's make this actually 3 seconds, and you don't have to wait for 30 seconds. I will refresh. As you can see, there's a problem here. It doesn't take 3 seconds. Because we didn't clean this interval, every time we fire this useEffect, we should clear this first. Otherwise, it's not gonna stop. I will say return. It's gonna be our cleanup function. I will say clear interval and my interval name. Let's refresh. As you can see, it's perfect. So what's this cleanup function? It's basically called every time we fire any other functions inside this useEffect. For example, if we change this question number, if we are in the second question, it's gonna clean this interval again, and it's gonna fire a new interval here. It's really important. If you don't clean this, it's not gonna work perfectly. If you are confused about this, maybe I can make another video about this cleanup functions, or maybe a complete guide about this useEffect. Just write in the comments. I will check them. Okay, so I will make them 30 seconds again. Okay, so we're almost finished. One more thing, we can add some sound effects here. I can use these assets. So what I will do, I'm gonna use a library here. I will open new terminal, and here I will say yarn add, and our library is useSound. Oops, it should be dash here, use-sound. Okay, so I will go to trivia component, and here I will import this. I will say import useSound and from useSound. So I should import my assets also. I will say import, and let's say play from assets and play.wow. I will multiply them, and second one will be correct, and this one will be wrong. Okay. Whenever I start this application, I'm gonna use this play sound. To do that, I should write here const, let's say let's play, and use sound. I'm gonna indicate here my sound name. What's the name? Just play. I will do the same thing for others. It's gonna be correct answer. And here correct. And wrong answer. And wrong. Okay. And for the beginning, I will write here useEffect. I will write here just my let's play function. And of course this function here. And let's try. I will refresh. Okay, something is wrong. Correct. Oh, these extensions. Okay. Let's refresh. So even if I answer them, for the next question, it's not gonna play again because we didn't write here any other dependency. It's absent. So let's use this correct answer and wrong answer. So how I'm gonna do this? As you remember, we write here if this answer correct, we just change this number and selected answer to null. If I write here this sound effect, correct answer, it's gonna be something strange. As you can see, there is some delay there. That's because we are playing this sound at the same time when we change this question number. But in the real world scenario, we should play this and wait a little bit, let's say 1 second or 2, and then we should change this question number. So to do that, I should write here another delay. Let's say we want to play this after 5 seconds, and others will be again after 6 seconds. So I will write here another delay. It's gonna be just 1 second because 5 here and 1 here. It's gonna be again 6 seconds. Nothing will be changed. So here another function. And here I will move them inside it. And for the wrong answer, I will do the same thing. Delay 1 second. And this function, I will call this setStop. Okay, let's try again. I will refresh. It works perfectly. So I will do the same thing for here. I will call my sound function first, wrong answer. And we are gonna hear this sound, and after 1 second we are gonna set stop and we will see you earned this amount of money. Let's try again. So it works perfectly. And we can do one more thing actually here. Before starting, we can ask the user to add some username. I will write here username and initial state will be null. And here I'm gonna create. They are still hearing this. So let's actually delete these sounds. I don't want to hear them all the time. I will just comment this out useEffect. Okay. So I will create another component. It's gonna be start.jsx rfc. I can delete this. So how I'm gonna change username? I will pass this username here, and under app I will say if there is a username, we can call other divs and components. If there is no, I'm gonna call start component. And inside I'm gonna pass this set username. Okay. So I should import it. Okay, I can't. I should make this manually. I will write start. Okay. So here I will indicate first my fragments. And inside I can pass this main and parameter containers. Cut this and here. Okay. As you can see, it's empty right now. Let's arrange them. I will go to start, and here first class name will be start. And here it's gonna be one input. It's gonna be placeholder. And I will say enter your name. And I will give class name, it's gonna be start input. And after that it's gonna be button here. I will say start. Of course, class name start button. I will go to my CSS file, and here I will say for start container it's gonna be a little bit smaller, width 250, height 100 pixels, and I will make them display, but flex direction will be column, and I will center them, align item center. So let's check first, something like that. So how I'm gonna center them? I will do the same thing as we did before. I will say position relative or absolute, top 0, bottom 0, left and right 0, and margin will be auto. Okay, so I can give some space. To do that, I will write here justify content space around. Okay, let's take care of this input. I will say start input with 100%, height, let's say 30 pixels. There will be no border, none, and I will give border radius. It's gonna be 5 pixels. Let's see. I can center this. Text align is gonna be center, and font size will be 18 pixels. Okay, awesome. I can get rid of this outline. I will say start input, and for focus, when we focus inside this input, I don't want any outline. It's gonna be none. Perfect. So I will arrange this start button, and again width will be 100%, height will be the same, again border none, and border radius will be 5 pixels. It will be actually same thing, and I will say cursor pointer and font size 18, and it's gonna be a little bit thicker. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna use useRef hook. I will say const input ref. It's gonna be useRef hook. I will say ref, and it's gonna be input ref. Okay. So for here, when I click this, on click, I'm gonna update my username. Let's write here handle click, and I will create this function here. const handle click, and I'm gonna set my username, but we didn't get here. I will take this prop, set username. I can update this right now. I will say input ref and current and value. But one more thing, if it's empty, I shouldn't click here. I can write this here, or let's write here, doesn't matter. Actually, let's copy this. If there is value, I can update this. Okay. I will write here my name and start. Awesome. So what can you do more after this tutorial? You can add more questions. After the last question, you can, I don't know, maybe celebrate the user or something like that. Maybe you can give some hints for user, like eliminate to answer, something like that. But it's pretty much all for now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you learned something, please like the video, and if you want to see some more, you can subscribe the channel. And by the way, I would be appreciated if you join our Facebook group. It's new, you can ask your questions there, or get inspiration from another users, or from me. So that's all. I hope I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.